Hi fellow teachers! As teachers, we're always on the lookout for perfect resources to make our lessons effective and to make our students learn. And when we're looking for perfect resources, it's not enough to actually find one, but what is really important and crucial, and I want to prove it to you today, is how to execute and how to ensure that a particular resource has the most impact. And so you can find multiple resources on the internet. There's like a ton of stuff that you can download, you can use in your classroom. But a good teacher is the one that looks at a resource and thinks, okay, so how can I make this resource into a resource that is so impactful that everybody's going to remember it and your students are going to make a lot of progress. And so based on an example that I'm going to show you today, I would like to prove to you that it is possible to make just one resource into multiple resources that are going to create an amazing lesson for you, and the one where you're going to feel that you ensure that your students have the best lesson ever. The example I want to show to you today is picture book. I love to use picture books in my classes because I believe they are amazing tools to introduce vocab and sentence structures to young ESL learners. I want to show you an example of a picture book titled Three Billy Goats Graph. So this is actually an adaptation of a story that I created. I created a story based on the Three Billy Goats Graph story. And first of all, the reason why I decided to create my own version is because, yes, I wanted more impact. So, and the word impact here is like key. So I had a book like the one that I bought in a bookshop, but it did not have all the elements that I wanted to have in the lesson. So I'm actually at this point in my teaching journey where I have decided to make my own picture books because I just felt like the ones that were available were not really necessarily meeting all of the objectives I wanted to have in my lessons. So I started to create my own materials and it seems to be working. So the Three Billy Goats Graph, I was like, okay, the book that I have is like, it's okay, it's very nice, it's got repetitive language, there's lots of really cool pictures. But what it was missing from my perspective was the interactivity. And I wanted to have that interactivity in the book itself. Of course, you as a teacher can take any book whatsoever and you yourself can make it interactive. But what a resource is it when you have a picture book that already has that interactivity in it. You're gonna have students being super glued to the screen or to the book that you're holding and to whatever you're doing, and they're going to be super engaged. So I introduced in this particular story, I introduced a new character. It's a robot called Fintech. Okay, so Fintech is like this narrator that actually narrates the whole story. So first of all, he engages with the audience, so it's the kids. So he says hi, and then he asks them what their names are, he asks them how old they are, then he introduces character, then he introduces the setting by showing like this is grass, this is bridge, this is river. So he introduces the whole story, so he makes the whole story like interactive, and it's not the teacher who makes it interactive. Of course, it's a teacher reading, right? But actually kids see the character in the story, and that makes it a lot more engaging. And to be honest, like when I was reading that story to my students, they were extremely engaged. And I can tell you the difference. I mean, we have picture books pretty much every single lesson because I love them a lot. And I can tell you that like whenever we add interactive elements to the story, this is what actually makes a huge difference. My students are extra focused, there's no disruption whatsoever, and they are extremely engaged. And they feel like they're part of the story actually. They're part of the story because that's what's there. They can see it. They can see a robot asking them a question, okay? And that robot is part of the story. So when the robot is talking to the kids, he makes the kids part of the story as well. So that makes a huge impact because kids do not then see like, oh, we're in class right now and we're learning English. No, they actually are taken on board and they are part of the story. So that brings a lot of impact. If they were just passively listening to you read a story, it wouldn't have as much impact. It would be listening, so there would be some benefit obviously, but it wouldn't be the best use of that particular resource. So add interactivity, and even if let's say there's not enough interactivity in a particular resource, you can make it interactive. So make make every picture book as interactive as possible, but obviously you also have to know the boundaries. Do not make it too interactive because they might actually lose track of the story itself, right? So there needs to be a certain balance. So that's number one. So then when I created the story, I was like, okay, so one way I want to create an impact is to make it interactive, but is there any other way I can make the picture book impactful so that my students learn more? So then I was like, okay, I want to reinforce the vocabulary from the story. So the characters, right? There's a bridge, there's a river, there's a trawl. So I wanted to reinforce that vocabulary. So then I decided that we are going to create something hands-on, and that's a craft. So there's a craft, and that follows the story. Kids create popsicle stick puppets. So there's this nasty troll, there's a little goat, medium goat, and big goat, and there's also a 3D bridge that they create. And it's very hands-on. Apart from reinforcing the vocabulary from the story, the teacher has also an opportunity to have one-on-one discussions with the students while the students are working on their craft. And that's one. And number two, also when the teacher is giving instructions, the teacher can also have impact there because the students are learning again to listen to instructions and then act on the instructions. It's not just like a teacher passively talking about something and students listening, but students have to actively listen in order to be able to act on whatever is happening. So that is a big value. This was really nice and my students enjoyed it immensely. Even the disruptive one were super engaged. So, but then I asked myself the question, is this enough? Because like, okay, with that craft activity, I reinforced the vocabulary, but what about the sentence structures? So I also wanted to reinforce the sentence structures from the story. The story itself is a story about like 3 goats that want to cross the bridge to eat the grass, and there's a nasty troll that wants to eat them. The goats actually cross the bridge one by one. So each time they cross the bridge, they meet the troll. So these situations actually help us create an environment where there's lots of repetitive language and sentence structures, and I wanted to reinforce that. Of course, they would remember some of the sentences from the story, but not enough. I wanted them to remember way better. So I was like, okay, let's do drama. Let's have a drama around this story. Like, it's not like something innovative or anything, but I was like, okay, drama. It's a cool idea, but they're like beginner kids. How do I ensure that, you know, they learn the sentences? I mean, it's gonna be kind of boring if they will just have to like repeat the sentences and try to memorize them. So then I was like, wait, everybody loves music. Okay, I don't know, but there is something about music that everybody enjoys. I don't know anybody who doesn't like music. I don't know, maybe you do, but I don't know anybody who doesn't like music. All people like music. There is something about music, there is something about rhythm that people really enjoy and we like it. So I was like, okay, if we do it using music, so if kids were actually singing their lines, it could be more impactful because they could learn, 1, faster, and 2, be more enjoyable than just like, you know, repeating sentences after the teacher. So I was like, okay, so let's do it. I'm not a musician, I'm not a composer, but I was like, okay, so what tunes do I know that everybody knows that we can use? So I used tunes like one of the popular tunes, and then I also used a bit of rap. I was like, okay, let's rap some. So now I'm gonna give you like an example of how it actually looked. So when it was drama time, I didn't ask students to first like learn the lines or whatever. We just like went in it like straight away. I was like, okay, so we assigned roles. Obviously with this particular drama, we only have like 4 characters, but still you can like, more than one person can be one character, so it's okay. I actually had that situation. I have some students in my class, so some character, like I had 2 students who were just one character, and it worked really well. It's fine. So then it was like, okay, so first like the little goat introduces herself or himself. It goes like this. Hi, I'm a little goat. I am very hungry. Hi, I'm a little goat. I am very hungry. Okay, so now the little goat introduces herself, yes, which is really cool. So there's a tune, there's this tune, and actually helped my students. I really noticed that with that tune it was so much easier for them to follow the lines, and then it made sense even to repeat the sentence again, because it's music. With music you can just like repeat and repeat and repeat, and it's fine. It would be weird if a teacher asked you to like repeat sentences just like talking. It would be like, why do I have to repeat it again? But with music it's a bit different, and the kids see it differently, and I probably like everybody does. So it was really nice. So they would sing this, okay, and then the little goat would go rapping. So it would be like this. I'm going across the bridge. I'm going across the bridge. And then the other students would go, what for? What for? What for? And then I'm going to eat the grass. I'm going to eat the grass. Trip, trap, trip, trap. And then, you know, the little goat would actually rap about, oh, seeing the troll. And then the troll would rap about wanting to eat the little goat and all that stuff. So I gotta admit that my students were really, really engaged. They loved it so much. I did not expect it at all. I expected it would have an impact, obviously, but I didn't expect this much impact, you know? They were so engaged, they wanted to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And I was the one who had to say, no, stop, that's enough. Like, you know the lines already, it's fine, we've practiced enough. They really did not want to stop. So that actually showed how great this resource turned out to be. And we could have just like left it there, just a story, and then just like, I don't know, maybe just have some comprehension questions, or, you know, put the story in order, and that's it. Right? But if you ask yourself a question like, what can I do with that particular resource to make it more impactful? So definitely always, I think always and forever, one of the answers will be make it interactive. Definitely. And I feel like it works for every single resource. Make it interactive. If you make a resource interactive, your students are going to be engaged. And then what I did as well, I added a hands-on activity that reinforced vocabulary. So once again, I made students engaged. So they were engaged. They were in the process. They were not thinking, oh, I'm learning English right now. They were not. They were just like doing some hands-on stuff while I was, you know, giving them instructions in English, and and then I would just like have like one-on-one discussions with them about what they were doing. And then this whole drama made them repeat the sentence structures. So they were actively learning the sentence structures of English. And like, it was just so amazing seeing my students leave class after the lesson and still rapping, I'm going, or please don't. Although, oh my goodness, it was really amazing to see. So always and forever, of course, if you want to be the best teacher ever, and if you want to provide the best quality lessons, that's my approach. That's the way I would approach a lesson. That's the way I would do it. I would always ask myself a question. How can I make more impact? How can I make it more impactful? How can I do it? So that's the question that I would ask myself. To wrap this up, you can have a lot of resources, and there's like a sea of resources on the internet. But question is, are they resources that you want to use, and can you actually make them more impactful than they already are? That's a question. And always try to think and figure out what you can do with a particular resource to make it interactive. How can you do it? How can you make it more interactive? And if you'd like to see this full lesson, the story, the three-billion goats rap, the adaptation of the story that I created, and also if you want to see the whole lesson plan with the craft as well, you can go to my Teachers Pay Teachers shop and you can get it for free. If you'd like to get access to it, just like leave us a comment down below, and we're gonna send this over to you. And of course, please subscribe and like this video if you liked it, obviously. Happy teaching. Bye!